Welcome to the Creepin' It Real show, your one-stop shop for weird news, spooky, otherworldly, and paranormal shenanigans. We'll take a dive into what's going on in creepy pop culture. You can follow us on Twitter at creepin_it and like us on Facebook at The Creepin' It Real Show. Do you have a paranormal story you'd like to share with us? You can email us at creepinitrealshow@gmail.com.
Hello, and welcome to I believe it's the 22nd episode of Creepin' It Real. This is one of your hosts, Christy, and let me just tell you, if you like all things terrifying or odd, you're at the right place. And another great option, if you like things that are horrifying, is wake up in the morning, put your headphones on, and listen to Fergie sing the national anthem.
Oh my God.
That in itself will terrify the shit out of you. No offense to Fergie, because I like her, but what the hell was that? It truly did terrify me. It's not something you wake up in the morning to. So, anyway, just thought I'd give y'all a little, if you really like scaring the shit out of yourself, do that first thing in the morning. With me today, finally, we have Mr. Yardley back from his crazy shenanigans in Mardi Gras. Yardley, how are you? And please tell us how Mardi Gras was.
Hey, you know what? I'm doing fine. It's good to be back. Mardi Gras was great. I mean, it's the normal, if you've been there a few times, you kind of know how to handle it and you know where to stay away from. All in all, there was a little bit of rain, but Fat Tuesday itself was a pretty beautiful day. But it did seem like a lot of people, including a couple people in our party, and a lot of people that I know back here in Atlanta, a lot of people were coming down with the flu. So that's it's kind of interesting how that thing seems to be popping up a lot more lately, because it took down a couple of people who were with us, but it kind of resonated with us that, some people had to be sick. So they were like the sacrifice for a great Fat Tuesday, I suppose.
That, I know this is going to come as a shock to nobody, but I had the flu over Thanksgiving, and my motto was drink a lot, and that would kill the flu virus. So I can sympathize with people at Mardi Gras trying to party with the flu. So I know y'all are all floored that would be my motto. So, well, I'm glad you had fun, and glad you personally didn't get sick, because I know that is something that you love to do every year. So it would really suck if you did all that.
I felt a little bit of something maybe like a week or so before, but I kind of knocked it out. But I think what it was just such drastic changes in temperature. When we were there, it was really cold. And when I got there on Friday, it was warm. And then the next day, it was like rainy. Then the temperature dropped down real cold, I think on Sunday night. And then it started raining the next day. And then Fat Tuesday, it was great. So I think that a combination of everybody drinking, you know what I mean, not really feeling that they're getting sick was probably one of the reasons why everybody was getting it.
Awesome. I'm glad you had fun. And also with us, finally, has her internet back up, because apparently she lives in some backwoods area that can't get any internet. Kidding. It was a large outage. Mm-hmm. Is Moni. Hello, Moni.
Hello. Yes, that is the most exciting and terrifying thing that's happened to me all week. Well, actually, no. I had a small ghost encounter actually this week, but the second most terrifying thing to happen was that, yes, my internet was down. There was a large nationwide outing, ahem, but my TV is just a Fire Stick. It's not like a cable, because we ain't fancy around here in California. And we didn't have TV for like most of the day. And my kid actually had to play with her toys. And we actually cleaned our house and had to talk to each other. And it was super crazy, y'all. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. But also, just real quick, so I mentioned this on the podcast like way back in the beginning, but we had a paranormal researcher actually come in, Nicole Strickland. I did a shout out to her a couple episodes ago too, but she came and spent half the night at the library last year and actually did some research and found like she got some really creepy EVPs. And one of the areas that she had recorded someone who wasn't there speaking was in it's a kind of a teen area of the library. And so the other day I was there by myself and I was opening up, And I'm used to kind of hearing footsteps and weird stuff over there. Sometimes I chalk it up to old building. Maybe someone's walking upstairs and I just, it sounds like it's downstairs. Other times I've thought, okay, that's definitely creepy, but it is what it is. But this time I actually heard the walking and I was like, okay, there's our ghost. And I kind of laughed. And then all of a sudden, from 3 different areas around me, so 2 sides, a book fell behind me and say to my left, and then a CD, like simultaneously, a bunch of CDs fell off the shelves to my right. Like these things aren't dangling off the shelves. Everything fell all at the same time. And I was completely by myself.
Nice.
And I took a picture. I actually posted it. It's not like you could see anything that was going on besides my dumb face, but that was pretty like, hair on the back of your neck standing up. So that's my real scary story for the week that I wanted to share with everybody.
Nice.
Yes.
We've all been there.
Oh, have we though?
I've been around haunted stuff, never in a library, but definitely it's creepy for sure. I mean, it's just like all the hair on your body just kind of pricks out and stands up. Even if you don't see something happening, when something's in the room with you, you definitely feel it. So
yeah. Well, my husband was like, it was an earthquake. I'm like, yeah, it's an earthquake that only knocks 3 things off 3 different shelves right around where I was standing that no one else felt. Yeah, I'm sure that's true.
Yeah, Mr. Cynical, not surprised. Well, I wanted to start today off with some weird news, and we're going to have kind of a little buffet of show. We're going to do weird news, we're going to do a quick movie review, and then we're going to talk about a little dude from Chile. So I'm super excited. Again, I'm super excited. I'm so super excited. Yeah, I keep saying that. I have to stop. Anyway.
You have to do a shot every time that she says excited. That's the backstory on that.
I will straight
up
be
don't send us your hospital bills, as Christy says. Yes.
Exactly. Don't send me your bills or your rehab fees.
So totally excited about the show.
We're like, so excited. I need to find some new words. Anyway, so I wanted to, so we're going up with some weird news. So it's so weird. So Yardley, sorry, I read your headline. I haven't read the story because I literally just wanted to hear you describe it because this is going to be hysterical. Yardley, please elaborate on our weird news from you.
Yeah, well, this is just another exercise in people trying to garner hits on YouTube. Essentially, some guys out in the UK for their YouTube channel, they essentially wanted to make a cast of one of the guys' heads. So they stick his head inside of a microwave and they pour this quick drying cement into it to try to make a mold. Now, of course, how could anything go wrong? So apparently it hardens on his head and he's not able to get out. They feed a tube so that he can breathe out of it, because, I guess the anxiety of being stuck along with not really being able to control how much air is going to get in there was pretty much freaking the guy out. So for an hour and a half, they tried to get him out before they called the paramedics. And then by the time the paramedics came out there and they were able to get the thing off, I think they had to work on it for it was 5 total hours that he was in it. Now there is a link to the YouTube because they actually did it live up until the young man started calling the ambulance. But for me, I'm just, at what point do you have to, use your head? Like some of this stuff is just stupid. People are dying to get YouTube hits. So, I know both of you have youngins, so you might wanna check them on that stuff.
Yeah, my son's obsessed with he has his own YouTube channel, but of course he doesn't realize that we have all these safety features on it, so he's not really reaching that many people just yet. But he is obsessed with, all he talks about is Roman Atwood, some dude. He actually looked this guy's number up and tried to text him. I'm like, dude, you need to have a seat. You're creepy now. And yes, he's all about YouTube people. So this is right up my son's alley right here. I can't wait to read him the story. I'm going to be like, things you don't do for YouTube channels.
Well, I mean, I just, I don't know. I mean, it's almost like we know that they have the ability to do research on the internet. I know that they have the ability to find out the types of things that these TV shows and movie studios use to make casts
Yeah.
for your heads. So, what is going to make you want to basically use some quick drying cement? I mean, I don't know. It's pretty
Well,
ridiculous.
doesn't cement
Like,
expand as it dries? Like, of course it would get stuck in there. I mean, from what I remember, quick drying cement expands like a little bit, not like a ton, but enough that yeah, it would get stuck in a small closed-in box like that. I
yeah,
can't.
they like put a plastic bag over his head and then
Yeah.
put it
Jesus.
in there and then added the cement. But I just don't get the point of wanting to get probably the most inaccurate head mold of all time by doing that. But man, people are thirsty for attention.
Those
So, do you
crazy
guys
thirsty people.
remember back? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
In the simpler days of Beavis and Butthead when we were younger, and people used to like, I think was it Beavis and Butthead where somebody put a cat in the microwave in like the fucking cartoon, and somebody did that in real life, and then like all the parent groups came out and they were like, this is awful. People are putting cats in the microwave because of this awful TV show. Like,
Probably.
seriously, that was, at least they weren't doing it for the attention of others. I don't think they just thought it was a good idea because they were stupid and watching a TV show. Like, this is all the same kind of stuff, just a different platform for them to do it. But that being said, like, oh man, I hope these people get the biggest bill for this. And okay, sorry, I never wish people dead. Okay, but if you have people that die of like legitimate accidents or in wars or in sad ways every single day, why don't more of these, like Logan Paul going into the
Yeah.
suicide forest? Why don't any of these idiot YouTubers actually end up like dying for real, so that maybe some of the other ones can learn, hey, let's not stick our head into cement molds inside plastic bags inside microwaves and think that we're being smart. Like, come on.
Well, I think
Hey,
that.
look.
Go ahead.
Well, real quick, Chrissy, this was the easy one because the other choice that I had was, of course, there was a guy who was like, sticking his penis through, weights, and then like the
Oh,
fire department had to come
Oh,
and like hammer the weight off of his junk. I don't even understand why you would want to
oh
go there,
no.
but
Could you imagine the pressure? Ouch, ouch, ouch.
yeah, it's ridiculous. But
Ugh.
it was a choice between that and this, but I just figured that this one was a little bit more. I mean, I'm a guy, so I could totally. If you told me a guy stuck his dick through the hole of a weight, I would totally believe you. But if you told
well,
me that a
yeah.
guy was trying to do a cast of his head, in the microwave, I'd be like, I would be more inclined to think that the cast story wasn't true. But yeah, that's
And
Well,
where we're
surely
at
what we
now.
need
They're
is a
all true.
mold of this dumbass's head because
Yeah.
one of his heads isn't smart enough, so he
Well, we're
needs a
gonna
second one empty.
they're casting it for the Darwin Awards for later when he wins his famous Darwin Award, hopefully after death, because like I was getting ready to say, Moni, is
Sorry.
of course no, you don't wish death on people, but you certainly hope that the stupid ones will weed themselves out so that they'll
Yes.
leave the rest of us a little more space on this planet and they don't procreate because seriously it's shocking the number of stupid people on this planet. So
Yeah, at least the guy that did that to his junk hopefully did enough damage that he can't have kids. So,
exactly. And yeah, I wouldn't be. I mean, I don't have a penis, but just hearing about somebody sticking their penis somewhere like that makes my penis shrivel up. So, and I
yeah,
don't even have
yeah.
one. So I
I
can't
have like a
imagine.
negative penis now.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I didn't want to come back and be too gross because I know that Christy has a thing about
Eyes.
eyes and stuff. And there was one that I
Oh, I
had, and I
saw
might
it.
just post it in the show. Oh, you talking about with
The
the
worm?
lady who had the bugs
Yes.
in her
Oh,
eye?
Yes.
Yeah,
The
that was
one where they
pretty.
pulled all those bugs out of her eyeballs. What is it lately
Yeah,
with eyeball
16.
things? Like eyeball things
Yeah.
all year is 2018 must be like the year of the fucking eyeball. I don't know, but I'm
I have to
over.
agree.
Oh, it's like constantly. So, all right, Moni,
yes,
a
ma'am.
farmer believes something about porn. I want to hear about this.
I just love this story. So, especially coming off the heels of our wonderful experience watching Jeepers Creepers and how the creeper pretended to be one of the scarecrows, I
Mm-hmm.
think in the second film or whatever. So, this guy is a farmer in India and he has 10 acres of land and he's been struggling with his crops all the years that he's had it. So, he decided that it was because people were jealous of him and looking at his stuff and like wishing ill upon him. So he put up a huge poster of, I guess it's like a towel, really, but at any rate, a photograph of a beautiful porn star.
Mm-hmm.
And she looks amazing, and she's out in his fields. And ever since then, he has had trouble with neither crows nor the hating evil eyes. And his crops have been doing gorgeously, and all the haters can suck it, maybe literally. And
Mm-hmm.
I just love this story because she looks beautiful, and I would love to look at her. She's wearing, a bikini.
I
I
was
would
gonna
love to look
say
at
I
her.
wouldn't consider this porn.
No, but it's India. I mean, it's a different
Oh,
place.
you're right. You're right. I didn't think about
So,
that.
and she's an actual adult film star apparently too. She's an
Mm-hmm.
exotic actress, Sunny Leone, and she's gorgeous. And as someone who this past week has had some issues running afoul of some jealous haters, I'm
Mm.
thinking about taking the same poster and putting it on the wall of my office, the office that they wanted and couldn't have,
Uh-oh.
and warding off the evil eye with my adult film star. So it's working for this guy. I think it'll work just as well for me. And if not, I'll at least get something beautiful to look at. So that's this weird news story for the week.
That sounds an awful lot like me when I'm on a diet. When we first moved to Atlanta, my husband's boss at the time, he's higher up in the company now, but at the time he was my husband's direct boss, lived with us for a month to help to look for a house for him and his family. And it just so happened to be a time that I was on a diet. And what I do when I'm on a diet is I cut out pictures of women in bikinis and I post them all over my cupboards in the kitchen. And so every time he would open up a cupboard, there would be like this Victoria's Secret model. He's still to this day, I mean, it's been 14 years since that happened, and to this day he still asks me, so you got any of those cutouts? Well, I've been trying to get my wife to, she won't do that. And I'm like, I'm telling you, it works. You go to get something out of that cupboard, you open up the door, and there's this gorgeous Victoria's Secret model sitting there staring at you. Hey, it can give good tidings and good energy and make you not hungry anymore. So
See, beautiful women are good for the world, y'all.
Exactly.
One way or the other. Don't you think, Yardley?
I'm just going to tap out on this one.
Yardley.
Taking the easy route.
Fine.
I'm taking a knee.
Fine. I think he's on to
ladies.
something. I think he's totally on to something. So, good. And hey, Moni, if you got a problem with some evil bitches, I can help you out with that. Let's talk later after the show.
Sounds perfect.
I've been wanting to read this for a while. A friend of mine sent me this. I think she might have sent it on our Facebook page, but I can't remember. I think as parents, and I think Yardley could also relate to this in some way because he does hang out with kids at times.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes kids can say some super creepy shit. And I have experience with that with my kids. And I like my son when he was 2, I think he thought his balls were eyeballs. And so we had a lot of really strange conversations about him thinking that his balls were eyeballs. So I can totally relate at times to some of the things. But some of these kids, like, you don't know what the fuck they're thinking. And I read there's a couple of different articles out there that people are sharing the weirdest things their kids have said. And I just thought I'd read a couple of these to you because let's try to picture Yardley, you're watching one of your friend's kids, or I'm sure you might have nieces or nephews or whatever, or Moni, picture one of your daughters saying some of this stuff. But
mine has. I'll have to tell you ours at the end. Yes.
But this lady went on Twitter and asked point blank, "What's the weirdest shit your kids have ever said to you?" And one of them says, I was watching a pre-K class while the teacher was out, and this little girl walked up to my belly and pointed and said, "There's a little tiny baby in there." And then, "There's a little baby right there." I was pregnant, but I hadn't told my job. So somehow this kid knew she was pregnant, even though nobody else did.
That is crazy.
Isn't that crazy? And then another one, my daughter was about 5 when she says, "You're the best mommy I ever had." I said, "I'm the only mommy you ever had." She looks at me and says, "No, you're the third, but I like you the best."
Wow.
I don't know if we got some other lives going there or what, but let me skip down. There's one where this kid wrote on a dry erase board. I can smell your fear.
Ooh,
That would
okay.
be a little creepy.
Mm.
This guy wrote, my son at 5 years old, Daddy, I'm going to eat you up. Aw. Yeah, I'm going to cut you into little pieces.
Aw.
I don't know. There's one from your favorite black auntie. It said my mom went upstairs for a nap. My middle son asked her if she was happy. She'll be seeing Jesus soon.
Oh.
So
But you know
bad.
what? You know what's crazy about some of these though? It's kind of the one that you had read earlier about the kid pointing to the belly, saying that the woman was pregnant. I actually had a friend who had a dog that used to always sniff him like in a certain spot. It was like around his leg or something like that. And the dog would always just sniff there. And then he started having these leg troubles and he went and he actually had like a tumor or something
Oh
like
my gosh.
that in his leg. Yeah. So I guess in a way the dog was I think the dog was smelling it or something, but it kept, poking him right there. And it turns out that there was a tumor
Wow.
in his leg there. So
Well-
sometimes I think that people do, there is some intuition, or maybe the dog can just smell really good and smell it.
I think
Yeah,
kids,
you
like
know.
dogs, don't have filters. I think after you get to a
No.
certain amount of time, we kind of condition kids to have like adult minds where those filters kind of go away. I think sometimes that maybe they do have something or they see something and we're all just like, yeah, okay, you're imaginary, but I think sometimes they do have that ability and we just kind of like ilk it out of them as they grow. But I thought those were pretty funny. I think there's one more that I thought was cute, where the little girl says, we're all going to die. And she says, I know, sweetie, that's just part of, and she says, you're going to die tomorrow.
Yeah, so that one reminds me something that my kid, who was 2 at the time, said. And I said, good night, baby, and she's like, I'm going to miss you when you die. And I'm like, what do you mean, honey? I'm not going to. And she's like, yeah, I'm going to miss you when you die. It's just like, okay. Well,
Yeah.
sleep well on that note.
Aren't children the best?
Oh God, did you guys see? I just scrolled down to the bottom. Did you see that? I don't know what movie that's from, but that little girl turning around.
That's
Oh,
from
no, thank you.
actually a movie I just watched very recently.
Shit,
like in
what
the
movie
last
is
year.
that?
I can't remember, but I
Oh.
know she was like possessed or something. But
Dude,
yeah, it's
keep
creepy.
scrolling. That is
That
not
reminded me
okay.
of that Truth or Dare trailer where they get that
Yes, with
crazy
the big
ass
smile.
grin.
Ugh.
Yeah.
No, thank
So, all right. Well, that wraps up our weird, crazy stories and news. Next, I had reached out kind of last minute and asked everybody if they had some time to watch a movie on Netflix that had just hit called The Ritual. I didn't know anything about the movie when I said we should try to watch it. I just had seen that it was getting good reviews. There were a lot of articles being written like, holy crap, Netflix actually has a good horror movie on right now that isn't like something that was out in theaters. It's their own, Netflix special. So I was kind of excited to check it out and was hoping we could fit it in just as a quick kind of review and opinion on the show. And I guess we all did watch it, so we're going to go ahead and discuss it. Extra apologies to Moni because, like I said, I didn't know what the movie was about. And Moni, it kind of hit her a little hard because
It's all good, girl.
she's
No
lost
worries.
some friends recently, and it is about friends that, that you lose. And so, oops, sorry about that. I was like,
It
what?
happens.
I don't know. And then I watched it, and I was like, oh, oops. So anyway, yeah, so it's called The Ritual. It is by David Bruckner, who I'm becoming a fan of. He does a lot of indie movies. VHS is kind of an underground indie movie that the first one was okay. I really liked the second one. Siren was a really interesting movie. Southbound was actually good. Signal was interesting, a little off. The Ritual is a lot different than the movies that he normally takes on. So I was surprised to find out he was the producer. But the writers, and I apologize, I'm looking for them now. Joe Barton and anybody heard of them? Oh, it's by a book. Okay, never mind. So it is based on a novel. Yardley, you wrote about one of the actors Is that your? I'm assuming that's you.
Yeah, well, it was actually my note. I ended up checking out the movie earlier today, and I thought it was okay. But as I was watching the movie, there was a particular person that I was like, I've seen this guy somewhere. I've seen this guy somewhere, and it was Rob James Collier who played the character Hutch. He
Hmm.
was Thomas Barrow in Downton Abbey. I was a big fan of the Downton Abbey
I was
TV
too.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
and
always played
Thomas was like,
a good villain on that show.
yeah, he was the
Mm-hmm.
guy. He was the guy that you love to hate, but by the
Yeah.
time the series was over, you found out the reasoning why he was the way he was. So you're like, okay, at the end of the day, he was an okay guy. But this character Hutch, I just couldn't. He that was the character that kind of kept me into the movie. And then
Mm-hmm.
as I was watching it, I kind of Googled to see who he was, and I saw that. So he was the guy for the most part that kept me in the movie until he died.
Hmm.
I thought overall the movie, it was okay. I didn't think
Hmm.
that it was horrible, but down the stretch, there were a few decisions that I know that everybody probably rolled their eyes at, and I'm pretty sure that we'll get to how it ended.
Hmm.
But yeah, I thought it was solid. I mean, it was okay.
Yeah. I mean, basically, I don't want to make it too long of a review, but it was basically a movie based on college friends that reunite for a trip to spread the ashes of a friend that they had lost due to a robbery, and they decide to take a shortcut. That's always never bodes well in a horror
Yeah.
movie. Through forest, and of course, the forest is quote unquote haunted. There's some crazy, signs and weird shit going on. I thought it was good. I thought it was good in the originality of the actual concept. I just think
Mm-hmm.
that horror in its own is desperately in need for some new concepts, and I liked the spin on it. I think I told Moni, I kind of compare it to like The Descent or The
Yes.
Ruins, where
Mm-hmm.
I really like, this is one of the things I liked about Cloverfield, is for some reason I can relate to people just going about their lives, doing their thing, and then end up in the crazy ass circumstances that nobody could have foretold. And some of these movies you watch, it's clear weird shit's gonna happen or stupid shit's gonna happen. But like with the ruins, or enjoying their trip to Mexico, go look at some ruins, and they never come home. I mean, Descent, their cave, doing cave exploration. Everybody but one dies. I mean, it's all kind of a weird. You're kind of just doing these fun things with your friends or your family, and all hell breaks loose. So I kind of like movies based like that, and this one wasn't any different. I thought there was a lot of mind fucking going on this movie
Mm-hmm.
with the friends. The friends are clearly not in as good of a place as they all thought they were. So you have a lot of drama internally in the group, and then God, that guy in the glasses, what the hell was his name? I just wanted to punch his face by the end of it. He was the Bill Paxton of aliens in this movie. Just the one
Mm-hmm.
that's bitching and whining and losing his shit all the time. Paul Reed, I believe his name is. But
Yeah.
yeah, he made me fucking crazy. But overall, it was, to me, worth my time. I enjoyed watching it. I can't say it was definitely not for theaters. I think Netflix was smart buying it. I always say a horror movie over 5.0 on IMDb is worth a watch, because people
Yeah.
are so picky on IMDb that if you can find something over that point scale, give it a try. So when I saw it had a 6.3, I was stoked to at least give it a shot. And the ending was different. I don't say I loved the ending, but I thought it was fine. I know a lot of people bitch about the ending. I think it was cool. I liked the monster. I thought it was bizarre, and I just thought it was an interesting spin. I thought it was just going to be like a village of crazy people, but there was something they were worshiping. It wasn't just some weird, back road family that believes in something. It was actually there. So all in all, I would say it's worth a watch, for a fun, unless you've had something like traumatizing happening. Might be hard to get through, but it was, for a horror movie, I thought it was decent. What did you think, Moni?
Yeah, no, I'm glad I watched it. So the opener was rough for me, and I think also I whenever I'm tired, and so I always start the stuff after I put my kids to bed. So I'm like I'm already exhausted, and that kind of just I think that's pretty normal. Like your defenses are a little down. So
Hmm.
the opener with his friend dying and it being something that maybe he could have prevented possibly, or at
Right.
least that being the question that he has to carry with him. Thank God, like when two of my friends that passed recently, and we were all around the same age, close knit friend group. And it did cause their passing, even without it being someone in the group's fault or not, caused a lot of dissension within the friend group. And we've never really come back from it, at least not yet. So a lot of that really rang true for me. I really liked that dynamic of like basically kind of the friends giving each other the side eye about how they were handling it and who should have done what in that instance. But, so the beginning was a little rough, that being said. And because I couldn't imagine not only losing a close friend, but also carrying, like, what if I thought in some way that it could have been my fault or that I could have prevented it?
Mm.
So I actually turned it off, watched something nice for a few minutes, and went to bed. And then the next day I was like, I'm sure that was just the opener. That's like a standard openers. You have to have something traumatic happen. And it maybe will be the reason like why they went on this camping trip so they could unite as buddies or whatever, but it won't inform the rest of the plot. Yeah, no. So just, if that is something in your background, it does, as Christy was saying about the mind fuck, it does come up over and over
Yeah.
again where you have to relive the moment of your friend dying. And then not only that, but spoilers, lots of other friends die and we're trying to save our friends and we are unable to. And we're talking about what about their kids and what about their families. And, as someone who has had to, see this happen to families, it's just been like, fuck, but other
Yeah.
than that, uh, we are hard up for good indie horror, so I don't know if I would have loved it as much had we not all, as horror fans, been so hard up for decent indie horror. It does remind me a lot of The Descent because I loved how those women went down there. Oh, we're such good friends, but also something traumatic happened in their past as a friend group that caused them to have more friction and have to deal with it once they were faced with life or death, monsters
Hmm.
attacking them situation. That was a lot like that, not quite as well done. Plus, I just love The Descent because it was with women.
Right.
But still, like just being lost in the forest alone would have been scary. Having the mind fuck stuff happening would have been scary. Like any element, and then that monster, obviously it was like you said, unique and different and freaky. So I didn't mind the ending because actually it kind of felt like The Mist a little bit, where I was like, he was right, they were right there, they almost
Yep.
made it,
Yep. Yep.
But I liked it, and I'm glad I watched it. I just wish, and again, Christy didn't know, she didn't do it on purpose, but I kind of wish I had been emotionally prepared for what I was about to see. But that being said, it was a good film.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I have to ask both of you about my most eye rolly scene, and there were a few in here,
Yeah.
but it was, but at the very end, I know with a lot of people saying that they didn't like the ending, it was just when the monster had that corpse and it was totally paying dude no attention, and all he has to do is just run away, and he decides to turn around and shoot the last bullet,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
knowing that it was going to do anything. I'm like, bro, just run,
Hmm.
Yes.
just get out of there. And I'm like, oh, I guess that they had to do it. Maybe it was a gag, but I don't know. Would either of you have taken the chance of taking the shot, or would you have just, kicked rocks and got the fuck up out of there?
Yeah, I would think if it's a god, which kind of what they were portraying it to be,
Mm-hmm.
I would assume a bullet's not really going to do much to it.
Yeah.
I think it's probably
Mm-hmm.
been around for thousands of years or whatever, and no, I wouldn't have. No, I wouldn't have shot the thing at all. But honestly, until you mentioned it, it did not even come up on my radar as anything. I don't know why it didn't even occur to me that that's probably not something I would do, and it isn't. I would have ran for my life and gotten the fuck out of there.
I want to see the concept art for them designing that monster. I'm gonna actually have to do a little research into that. I thought it was unique. It was really freaky.
Yeah, it was. It
The
had
whole
like
monster
human
as a whole.
hands, and
Yeah, so
it
I'll have
was.
to check that out. But hey,
Moni, what would you have
it's a good
done?
recommendation.
I would have gotten the fuck out of there because we know what I would have done. I would have done the same thing that the main character does in the opener too, honestly. But I think it's different for men, and obviously not in Yardley's case. But I think this guy having already kind of run away too, in a
True.
sense, in the
True.
beginning. I wonder if the mindfuck was part of his issue, is like, despite it being stupid, he's carrying such great pain, as they mentioned, that maybe he would rather have been dead than known that he had run away when he had at least a chance to kill this thing. I don't know. I wouldn't have made that decision, but I'm just saying maybe that's what informed his character at the time.
That's idiocy.
true.
It's just you dying in that moment does nothing to go back and help you kind
No.
of reconcile what you didn't do. I'm more on the lines of Chrissy. Like, this guy has seen this beast killing people. They're saying that it's a god. Nothing in my head would have made me think that a bullet would have done anything. I probably would have taken my chance with the torch or that axe. You know what I mean? It's kind of
Yeah.
like the person who has
True.
the monster on them, and then they strike it, and then the monster cries out, and then they drop the weapon and run. Like, no, just keep hacking that shit.
Yeah.
and he also does that to the monster. But once again, I thought it was a good recommendation, and maybe I'll go back and watch it. But I think Annihilation is going to be coming out soon, so my
Yes.
attention will go to that.
Well, what I want to go. I'll come with you. I want to go. Pick me. Pick me.
Yes.
Nobody I know likes shit like this. I have to go by myself or drag one of my kids. Where Madeline happily went with me to Winchester. Jay didn't want to go, and he freaking likes horror movies. And Madeline may never go with me again after Winchester. So I don't know. I'm running out of people to watch good
Yardley,
sci-fi
as much
or
as we
horror
love
movies.
Christy and her stories, we're going to have to hear this story every single time until you take her to the movies. So I think this has to happen, bro.
Well, he's taken me to it, and see, that was a good movie. So maybe he's my good luck charm.
There you go.
But a movie will be good if I go with Yardley.
Now, so Annihilation? I might be totally out of the loop. Now, Annihilation is going to come out in the theaters?
Yeah, it's coming like next week or something.
You know what? For some reason, I'm not lying here. For some reason, something was making me think that it was going to be a Netflix movie. For some reason.
No. This is going to be a big one.
Oh, okay. Well, cool. Well, that's definitely gonna happen, though.
Here we are.
Is it my week next week, y'all? Just real quick, is it my week to pick?
Yes.
It is, right? Okay, well, you know what? So we'll do the teaser at the end, but I'm just going to say, if we can all swing it, I'd like us to review Annihilation.
Yeah,
so anyways, we can go on with the next topic, but I just wanted to mention that. That's a good idea.
Comes out Thursday.
Awesome. Let's try doing that.
Okay, that's cool with me. I'm fine with that. We'll see if Yardley is sufficiently recovered from Mardi Gras to figure that one out.
I'm totally back. Yeah, we're going to see if we can work that.
Okay, cool. All right, so moving on, because I know I wanted to do a little more than some horror movies or TV shows. I like to talk about some weird shit, and this little guy has been on my radar since 2015, and so I wanted to talk about him because a lot of new news is coming out about him, and I thought that it would be an interesting topic to get y'all's opinion on, especially after we did last week where we talked about monsters and which ones we believe, which ones we don't believe. So little Ada came in, thought that would be the perfect conclusion to our conversation from last week. Our main topic's going to be about, and I might totally butcher this, the Atacama skeleton humanoid. Atacama, I'm assuming is how you say it. That's probably my southern way of saying it. But he is a little guy. He's 6 inches long. A skeleton humanoid, and we will, of course, post pictures and links to everything we're talking about if you've never heard of him. Doctors call him Ada. He was discovered in the desert and believed to have been in the desert for about 100 years, but he was very well preserved because he was in the desert. He's tiny at 6 inches long, but he's mostly pretty much a fully developed skeleton. Scientists have verified that he's real. He's not some pieced together fish chicken thing that people are trying to pass off as a hoax or something. The serious team that put together this documentary, at first, when they discovered him, or they discovered of his existence, wanted to study it and then decided to put together a crowdfunding campaign to allow the funds to do that. And it has, and even to this day, is the largest crowdfunding campaign in history. I don't know the exact total that they got, but it was millions. And so they did make their way over to Spain, and the Spanish government allowed them to do some research on him. He is currently housed in Spain at this moment, but he was found in Chile originally. So here's what interests me about little Ada. And I think this is what really kind of gets at the scientists that actually researched the guy, is the big thing was, what is he? Is he an alien? Is he human? You know, what the heck is he? Is he some sort of weird, like, aborted fetus or something? And it was determined that he is not a miscarried or aborted fetus. He did not have dwarfism or progeria or anything else that would cause this type of, what we would call defect. So, and the question is it a defect, or was he just himself? Is this just what he was? He is 91% human DNA, but with that information, after, there was a huge splash about him for a long time. What is he? What is it? What is he? And after the DNA results came back, they're like, oh, he's 91% human. Okay, case closed. But here's the problem with that, is even primates are 96 to 98% human. So a lot of it, even pigs have almost the same percentage of DNA as we have. So this doesn't really case close anything. It still is bizarre. He's still a bizarre thing that I still I'm not okay with the results that a lot of websites and news organizations are kind of leaving this at. And the doctors that are involved with this feel the same way. They're like, wait a minute, just because we put that news out there, that doesn't really change anything. I mean, of course he's got human DNA in him. He looks like a small human, but what is he? So I just wanted to put it out there. I wanted us to have this conversation because I have a feeling that there's going to be a lot more news coming out now as well, because they're now studying over 2 million strands of quote-unquote junk DNA, which means it's not junk like we're trashing it. It literally means that it's DNA that a computer cannot chart from any other living being on the planet. So that kind of throws it really into perspective instead of just calling it junk DNA. So the guy that did the documentary is Dr. Greer, I believe Stephen Greer. He used to be a doctor, but he's retired, and he's spent a lot of his time, I think the last 20 years, doing heavily into UFOs stuff. So people, the second he starts talking about something, they have kind of this, oh, it's him, oh, it must be ridiculous then. But I still wanted us to put it on the table and see what y'all's thoughts were.
Yeah,
Go
you know
for it,
what?
Yardley.
I was just gonna say, I'm gonna be real quick with this for the most part. I think the thing that I wanted to hear off the jump was that it was authentic. It looks like it could potentially be a toy. So once I started reading the articles and actually watching some of the what was it, a conference that was like at Stanford,
Yeah.
where he was talking about the bone structures and how, as you had mentioned, it wasn't a dwarf, it was just its own thing. That kind of made it more believable to me, because the people definitely did give the evidence that this was not some fake thing, that it was a real thing, and that it was 6 to 8 years old. So it definitely piqued my interest, and there's a lot of stuff to back it up. I personally think that whatever this is, it might be an anomaly. Now, of course, if they find 2 or 3 more, I'll say, okay, let's dig a little bit deeper. But I don't know. I'm just happy.
Let me just tell you that they have found 2 or 3 more, slightly larger, considered adults, but the countries that have them will not release them for research. And so now they are currently have photos of them, which, this became for me once I started watching the links I posted you. I started clicking on more of them and more of them, and Dr. Greer has since done quite a few different interviews and other types of documentaries, and he did post some photos that other people had sent him, other scientists had sent him, of little ADAs that look like little ADAs that are not available to be researched at this time, but they are now applying and hoping that they will get access to. Same, just slightly larger, so they figured they're probably the adult version of ADA. But I just gotta say, can you imagine doing your thing and turning around and seeing a little 6-inch man just can you imagine your eyes feasting on a thing that actually lived 6 inches? That is the size of a pen or a pair of sunglasses or something. I mean, that is mind-blowing to me. I would probably shit my pants if I saw a little man walking around that size. It's just absolutely mind-boggling to me. Moni?
I want one, first of all. Super cute. Like, I just want to put a little thing in his head and make him into a keychain, which is probably not the most respectful treatment of a little ADA.
Sound like you're from Japan.
Yeah, so not to contradict you, but one of the links that you posted, and I get it too, because 9% does sound like a lot to you and I would love, it would have been cool, like talking about having guests. I would love to have had someone who knows more about DNA than we do, the three of us here, because the I Fucking Love Science link that you posted says that while that 9% discrepancy, like how he's 91% human, while the 9% sounds like a huge discrepancy, it refers to the sequence portions used for reference, not the entire genome, well within the expected parameters for contamination and degradation of the DNA after spending so long exposed to the elements. So, I mean, it could just be because, like, if you were to, like you were saying, that monkeys, that primates were 96% human, if you were to take that DNA from a healthy monkey right now, but I'm curious if you found, the bones of a monkey that were as old as this little guy, and even maybe from the same region as this little guy, then you would maybe have a more accurate comparison. That would be an interesting study, perhaps, to kind of see then what kind of discrepancy you get in the DNA. But I think, just based off of what little I know about anything and about what we watched in preparation for this podcast, that I think he must be human. Not that I don't believe that aliens have ever existed, but I don't see, there's a few things. For instance, 6 inches as an alien, I mean, I guess it's this is going to sound like a dick joke, but it's the size of like your brain and what you're rocking, I guess. But 6 inches sounds, unless you're fucking Ant-Man and you're going to be able to grow bigger somehow, like just physically moving around when you're 6 inches large, it sounds like a difficult way of life. I just don't see that being the most effective use of a life force wherever it may be from. So I have an easier time believing that this is possibly just some kind of deformed human that had something that we haven't heard of. And then it was basically Darwinism, that it was something that this human was born or didn't end up being born or whatever, could not survive being so little and missing some ribs and missing some of the things that he needed to be human, and therefore obviously perished as a result. That's just what I feel in my gut about him. I would love to see him have them have access to the other ones, because I don't think that he could have been the only one born this way, even if there were slight differences in something being born similar. Because when they talk about other humans being born small, they're still like over double or like triple his size is the next smallest that has ever been discovered. But Christy, when we were talking last week on the podcast about all the things on Earth, the deep sea and in the jungles that still haven't been discovered, I just think maybe this is just another human genetic defect that we haven't found yet. That's just my gut feeling. I'm sorry, Yardley, you were going to say something along those lines?
No, I was saying I agree with you totally. I think it's totally an anomaly. I mean, even if it did happen in other countries, I just don't think that something like that, as you were saying, it would just be too difficult to survive without the help of something else. I mean, just think of all the things as a grown human that you have to worry about, hundreds of
Yeah.
years ago. So imagine being that small. I just don't see things. I could just totally see like a puppy just seeing it and just playing with it and killing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you couldn't really take anything for granted. So I'm along those lines. I just would love to see a real one. I mean, just to see one in the flesh, just moving around, just so I could laugh for days.
Yes.
Aw. Poor Ada. You guys are awful. Moni
No,
wants
I
to turn
love
it
him.
into a
He's so
keychain, and
cute.
Yardley wants to laugh at him. Here,
Although I was doing sake bombs, and Christy, I don't remember. You're saying Atacama, and that's what I say.
yeah.
But Dr. Greer, when he was talking, he pronounced it some other way that I can't obviously pronounce it, so I'm not making fun of you. But I was doing sake bombs yesterday, and I was going Atacama skeleton, vitamin vegemin. Like
Oh my
I kind of was
God.
making fun of him a little bit.
Poor guy. Well, yeah. I mean, you're like, I'm gonna put him on a keychain. God.
Well, you keep
Well,
saying he's only 6 inches. He's so
he is.
tiny, and I'm
He's
like, I told
tiny.
you last week. He told his friend. He tells his friends he's 8 inches. Okay.
Yes, exactly. With that skull, he probably can be because it doesn't have like all the plates. But anyway, well, here's my thing, and here is I think there's like two types of people on this planet. I think we've got ones that are open-minded to just hearing everything, and then we have others that just aren't. And I think we're all open-minded on the show. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking together. But my opinion is that I think height and size are relative, uh, only to us. Like if this guy is, say, he is alien, which is the big question: is it alien? Is it alien? Is it an alien, or is it some sort of hybrid or something? What is small to us could be just normal to this guy. I mean, when you look at him, he's not disproportionate. He's not a dwarf. He's not. He's got all his little bones. They're all intact in the way that they're supposed to be for his little skeleton. He's got his eyes, his nose, his head's all there. His brain might be small to us, but maybe it's got all the little connectors and brain tissue needed for him. And I don't think that it necessarily meant that he was stupid. I don't know, but of course, because we've never seen one alive. But I don't know what to think about it. I'm really curious because I just would think with all the DNA research that we have that if he suffered from some sort of defect that it would have been charted by now or discovered in some way, because usually when you find that somebody has some sort of disease or defect, there is a certain piece of a certain part of your DNA that shows that. And yes, some of his DNA wasn't charted, but there were complete strands. And in those strands, it wasn't in there. And that's how they can, without a doubt, say he didn't, as far as what they checked, have anything that can be considered a defect as a human. So I'm just really curious to see if they can dive down a little deeper as time goes by. And like Yardley said, I want to see one of these guys in action. I mean, I just can't in my mind even try to picture a little person that size functioning like in life, like walking around, talking. I mean, I would assume it can talk. I don't know. But, and for me, I can't 100% say it's human. I certainly wouldn't say it's a miscarried thing. They're saying it lived for this many years, so unless it lived inside somebody's fetus for that long, I can't imagine, or not fetus, but uterus for that long, I can't imagine it not. It did live. It did walk around. It did, have a life.
Well,
Um,
in a way, though, I mean, they could be wrong because there's not really anything comparable to it. That's why they're going to need the other ones and other things,
right.
to be able to make a better analysis of it. But, they're kind of assuming that. But, yeah, I hear you.
I think the other things that I find interesting, which there were so many that they started to list, and I just couldn't keep track of it all because we'd be here all night. But the differences of its skeleton compared to a human skeleton. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, we can say this guy is human but had problems, but uh, he had a lot of differences that kind of don't make him human. And so that's the bizarreness about it. Of course, he looks like a human form. Humanoid is why they call him that. But he didn't have, not only did he didn't have a lot of things that humans have, but the things that he had were completely formed as what you would expect a child to have. So he could, you can look at something that's born, and when it's born, it's not complete. The skeletons aren't complete. They're still growing. They still have all these plates that are all moving around. Even, uh, everything, your legs, your knees, none of that stuff's been. That's why a baby can't get up and walk away. This guy, everything was completed. Everything was there for him to walk around and just be a normal little 6-inch dude, just not in the way that our skeleton is formed. So that's what makes this absolutely fascinating to me. Um, I know that I'm out there. Some of the monsters and shit we talked about last week, I was kind of like, yeah, they could happen. Yeah, I believe them. But at the end of the day, I mean, possibly, okay, maybe. But this guy actually existed. This really happened. He was really alive. He really existed, 100 or 200 years ago. And finding out what he is just absolutely fascinating to me. This isn't a hoax or a Mothman or a Loch Ness monster. They found this guy and he's out there, and that just absolutely fascinates me. So I'm excited to hear more about what they uncover, and I hope that they can, really dive in more on the DNA, because definitely, I mean, let's be honest, 91%, even if there's some junk in there because of deterioration, isn't a lot. And Moni, you're right. I would like to know, like, if they found a 100-year-old monkey and tested its DNA, like, what would turn up as, DNA that could actually be used. So, I don't know. It was something I just wanted to bring up and talk about and hopefully carry on the conversation at another time.
I still want one. And when you said, did he live in someone's uterus? I actually had this mental image, and only a horror fan would be delighted, or a sci-fi fan would be delighted by this image. Everyone else would be horrified.
Mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm.
I was hoping that at some point he burst out of someone's chest.
Like an alien?
Like an alien. Yeah. That's what I was hoping that he did. But that's just me, maybe.
He's kind of got the little face like one of those.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
He would have been
original.
amazing. Oh my God, he would have been so cute. But if you said he talks, then maybe he would have come out and been like, hey, motherfuckers, I need a drink. Like, I've been living in this uterus all this time. Like, what the fuck,
Now I'm thinking of that Saturday Night Live with Will Ferrell where he comes out, the uterus, and he's huge. He's like a grown man. And he's like, it's hot in there. Let's go have a drink.
Yes, that's what he did when he came out. So
yeah, possibly. But and now I'm thinking of, like, when he was born, how freaking big was he? He was
his
born.
Mom peed him out or something. She didn't even know.
Climb out while she was asleep. I mean, seriously, like, if he's 6 inches as a kid, what in the world was his size when he was born?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, she wouldn't have even been able to see him. He probably did. He probably just ran away and lived on his own. Oh my God, so cute. I would keep him.
God. Well, he just happens to have a hole in the back of his skull that's perfectly attached for a keychain. So if you can get into Spain and break into their science lab, you could have an Attic keychain.
Don't tempt me. I could go like, I am Minnie Much Librarian. I am here to study him. I am very serious. And then take him with me, and he could live on my shoulder like a parrot. It would be amazing.
Well, I'm so glad that y'all are thinking about him as a pop culture symbol, and I'm over here like, he's an alien, and y'all are like, I'm gonna think he's so cute and laugh at him and put him on my keychain.
He could still be a super cute alien because he's dead now and can't do anyone any harm, and he didn't hurt his mother when he came out. So there you go.
Well, how do you know? What if his mother was tiny too? You just don't know. Tiny alien people or tiny underground people that live in the lava. I don't know.
I was going to say, I feel like we would have found a few more of them before, if that was true. But
yeah, like the dinosaurs. I mean, hey, they're all hanging around. Where are all these people if they exist somewhere? I don't know.
Hiding from us.
I'm going to go with he's part alien. That's just my thing. I've watched enough alien shows and stories to know that a lot of people that talk about alien experiences talk about little guys, like tiny little guys crawling around and scaring the shit out of them. So maybe he got left behind. Maybe his mommy and daddy left him in the desert. And
do you remember the Twilight Zone where the lady was dealing with the tiny monster thing, and then it turned out at the end that she was the giant, and the monster thing was actually a NASA, oh my God, words are hard. Astronaut, there we go.
Yes, that's what I mean. Like, small is, for us, that's relative, because what we think is small, he might not think is small. He might think he's normal size, and we're all giants. So who knows? I'm keeping my mind open on this one, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about it. So you guys are probably going to be forced to talk about it again if we get more updates. So you're welcome. I know.
We look forward to hearing about his cuteness some more.
Yeah, I'm curious as well, though.
I mean, he's adorable. He's so stinking cute. I would have loved to have seen him alive. So anyway, well, okay, that will conclude our evening / day / whenever the hell you're listening to this of Creepin' It Real. Real quick, thank you guys very much for all your support. We've been getting a huge amount of response on all our streams. And if you are listening via Podbean, if you could just click that little follow us option, it would be fantastic. And if you are on iTunes, hit the 5 stars or whatever wonderfulness review you'd like to give us. That would be great. You can also find us across the board at the Creepin' It Real Show or Creepin' It Real. I'm Creepin' Christy on Instagram. Yardley, what are you?
You can follow me on all platforms at militant_marker.
Moni.
Rebel Moni on Twitter and Moni Bear, Barre, on Instagram.
Fantastic. Well, I would like to give a shout out to all of you guys again. Thank you for listening, and we will definitely catch. Oh wait, who's coming? Oh yeah, we're talking about next week. We're talking about Annihilation, right?
Hopefully, yeah. Fingers crossed. No guarantees, but that's our goal. Is if we can all make it out to the theater this week, we will talk about Annihilation, starring Natalie Portman, that comes out on Thursday. So if you get a chance to see it and watch along with us, that'll be great. If you do not get a chance to see it, spoilers, there's going to be spoilers, so don't cry about it after you hear next week's episode.
Mm-hmm. No hate mail. All right, guys. See you on the flip side.
Bye.
Until next time.
I am a bringer of the dawn, where the light and the dark become one. Birds fly against the sun, and serpents spiral roundly. the soul.